Hi folks, how you doing? When I started building this layout, I didn't really worry myself too much about the wiring because I knew I was going to change it. I knew I was going to do some experimenting and stuff. So I kind of just chucked it all together a bit. And as you can see there, well, I'll show you underneath. I've never shown you this because it's an absolute disaster. Um, yeah, make sense of that. There is actually a couple of buses in there, and it does all make sense and it all works. But no, I'm not having that anymore. It's going to get sorted. So what am I going to do? So I'm going to use these things. These are by Eve Model. It's the same company that make my signals. It doesn't actually say in the box what they actually are. Okay, but basically it's a terminal bus block, and what you can do is you can put your circuit in here, and that will power all these terminals. So this block will become the bus. So I just need to feed the power wires into the end, and then I can branch off to my droppers where that connects to the track from this, instead of having to cut into wires round about the bus. I'll explain all this a bit better later on with the diagram or something. So I've got 4 of these. I've got one for my inside loop, one for the outside loop, one for my points, and one for my signals. And if I'm possibly going to get a couple more, because I'm thinking about adding some lighting into the layout and some more signals and stuff, so I may need more. But at the moment, I'm just going to rewire what I've got using these instead of a bus wire. Alright, let's get under the layout and start sorting it out. I'm not looking forward to this. It's going to be a bit of a job. I've also got myself a big load of wire just in case I need it. We'll see how it goes, but it's always good to have some spare wire. So in amongst this great big bird's nest of wires, there is logic. This is a dropper from the outside loop. It's positive and negative. And this black wire here is the bus. The negative bus anyway, and that's the positive bus. So that then goes along, and you've then got the droppers from another power feed, and there'll be another 2 droppers in there and up there. So, and it's the same for the inside loop as well. So that's inside loop droppers there, and there'll be another 2 there, and there'll be another 2 up there, and another 2 up there. So what I want to do is to disconnect the bus, to leave the droppers fit one of these terminal blocks up underneath the baseboard, connect that to my controller, and then connect all the droppers to the terminal block. So basically it does away with these bus wires, and in the process we'll staple up the wires and route them nicely, so it all kind of makes sense when you look at it from underneath. So just looking at this terminal block just to see how it works, you've got 2 inputs there and there, and there's another 2 there and there. So you could wire it straight through. So you could have a positive wire coming in there and a positive wire coming out of there. And all these terminals would connect up to that positive wire, and you could have a negative wire coming in here and coming out there, and these would all connect to the negative. Or you can just have a wire coming in to here and to there. So positive and negative, again, these will all connect to positive, these will all connect to negative. Or if you wanted to use this as a bus for just the common wire, or the black or negative wire for wiring points. So if you watch my video on how to wire points in a layout, I explained how a bus wire would work for wiring up multiple points. If you put a negative wire into here and then also into there, just link these together with the negative wire, all these could then be part of the bus. I think it will be easier to wire this up before screwing it into position. It'll just make it a little bit easier to handle and see what I'm doing. And once I've got it all wired up, then we'll screw it in place. Okay, these two wires here come from the controller, and these two wires are going to feed the track. So if I disconnect these, obviously these wires aren't long enough, and this is really why I bought new wire, because I don't want to have lots of joins in the wire ideally, so I think we'll run a new fresh wire from the controller straight to the bus. Okay, that's the new wires from the controlled output for track 1 on my controller, now connected to the bus. Now this will get screwed in up here eventually, but I'm going to connect up the power wires for the outside track one at a time, because I want to test them. Well, once it's all wired up, then we'll screw this in place and we'll fix all the wires in place. So first thing I want to do is get the dropper from track 1 connected to this, and then we'll test them, because I just think it's a good opportunity to test each power input point to make sure they are all working, because if one's not working, then you can get inconsistent power supply in the track. And okay, there we go. So these are the wires coming from my controller, and these wires go to one of the input points on track 1. So in theory, I should have power right round track 1. So I'm going to test that though. But what I will do, once I've tested that it works, is I have another 3 input points on track 1. So they will all get connected up. And then that'll be track 1 rewired. Okay, so where can you see that? There you go. Position that so you can see it. And if I touch these rails, nothing should happen at the moment because there's no power. Let's turn the power on. And we should, there we go, we've got a reading, 9.95. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the track and make sure we've got a reading everywhere. Right, that's my bus terminal in position. So these are the wires from a controller. I've kept them deliberately loose, just in case I need to move the controller for some reason. They then feed into those terminals there. And then all the positive wires for all the power feeds into the outer track, or track 1, are wired on this side, and all the negatives on this side. And they then go off in pairs, routed round, kept neatly in their pairs up to where they connect into the track. So that's one, and then there's another one routing off along there, and that goes up into the track. And there's another one routing in there, and then that one there runs down and connects into the terminal. So it still looks a bit of a mess, but that's just the outer loop. Track 2, the bus will go over here, but it's going to be a bit trickier to do because I've got isolated sections in the bus, so I need to go and figure out how the hell I'm going to wire that. So that'll be in part 2. So I thought it might be an idea just to do a quick diagram of what I've just been doing. So this is what I had. This is my controller down here, and the red and black wires was my bus, and then from the bus there are wires connecting to the track at 4 points on the layout. The wires connect to the track by fish plates. The wires are soldered to fish plates, so there are joins in the track at 4 points. So that all works absolutely fine, but if you think you add in a second track to that and do the same, and then you add points and all the rest of it, the wiring does get quite complicated. So this is what I've just done, and basically it does exactly the same thing, but instead of having the bus wire going around the layout, the power goes from the controller to the terminal block, and the connections to the track connect directly to the terminal block. So if I wanted to add in more points, more power points to the track, I can do that easily just by wiring into the terminal block rather than splicing into wires. Now I'm not likely to want to do that for the power supply to the track, but when I come to do the points and accessories, that is something I am very likely to want to do, to add in a new signal or some lighting, or maybe I want to add another point in somewhere at some point. So it's going to be much easier to do, and I really wished I'd wired it this way from the start, but you know, you live and learn. Yeah, so that's it. Next video will be doing the inner track, which will be a little bit more complicated. Okay, catch you later folks.